That conflict creates a kind of pain most men do not know how to explain. They just feel it as a heavy silence that stretches across months. Sleep stops fixing it. Work stops distracting from it. Friends telling you to move on feels like a bad joke. This is where many men break down. But some men do something different. They snap awake. They stop asking, "Why did she do this to me?" and start asking, "What did I miss?" That question is the birth of a killer. Not a killer of women, a killer of delusion, of weakness, of the old version of himself that kept walking willingly into emotional gunfire. He becomes obsessed, not with getting her back, but with understanding the game he never realized he was playing. He replays old conversations and sees things he missed. The way she talked about her ex like she was still emotionally plugged into him. The way she flirted with attention as a drug, not as a side effect. The way she loved the drama she claimed to hate. He notices the patterns in every story she told about past relationships. Somehow, she was always the victim, never the common denominator. He remembers the small comments she made about him being too available, too sweet, too predictable. Back then, he took those as cute quirks. Now he recognizes them as warnings. This is where the laboratory begins. He starts treating his own heart like a test site. Every interaction with women becomes data. Every conversation is an experiment. Every reaction means something. He stops assuming women behave the way they say they do. He starts watching what they actually respond to. He notices that when he replies instantly, interest fades faster. When he pulls back slightly, curiosity wakes up. When he drowns a woman in constant reassurance, she gets bored. When he is focused on his own life and lets her orbit around it, she leans in more. He hates this at first. It feels fake. It feels manipulative. It feels like he is breaking some unspoken rule about just being yourself. But then he remembers something. Being himself got him destroyed, so he keeps going. Slowly, something changes in his body language. He stops leaning in so far. He stops filling every silence. He stops over-explaining his intentions. He is still kind, but no longer unquestioningly loyal to strangers. He is still respectful, but no longer worshipful. He is still romantic, but only with women who prove they actually deserve romance. Women can sense this difference immediately. They feel that he is not hypnotized by them the way other men are. They sense that he understands them in ways they did not expect, but is not starving for their approval. He knows when they are testing him. He knows when they are pushing boundaries just to see what they can get away with. He knows when they are pretending to be confused while making very deliberate choices. And he does not argue about it. He does not beg. He does not write novels in the chat explaining his side. He simply adjusts, pulls back, redirects his attention. To her, it looks like unshakable confidence. To him, it is survival. This is how being hurt by women creates killers in the dating game. The pain forces them to evolve. The betrayal forces them to study. The disappointment forces them to build a new operating system. They stop playing with their feelings on the table. They start playing with their eyes open. And slowly, the guy who once begged for closure becomes the man who quietly gives it to himself and moves on before she even realizes she lost him. What you see today, the smoothness, the timing, the relaxed power, is just the final version of a transformation that began the night he realized, in this game, innocence is not rewarded. Awareness is. Some men never make that jump. They stay stuck in that first heartbreak forever, bitter, resentful, checked out. But others Others decide that if love is going to hurt them, it will at least teach them. Those are the ones you're watching now, the ones who turn their scars into strategy, the ones who walk into a room and read it like a book they have already underlined. Not because they were born killers, because once upon a time, they were the casualties. He walks into the bar like it is a stage built just for him. Calm steps, easy posture, that relaxed half-smirk that tells the room he has seen this movie 1,000 times and already knows the ending. Within minutes, he has the bartender laughing, the girl at the corner table twirling her hair, and two women who swore they were just out with the girls suddenly adjusting their posture when he glances their way. He is not loud, not flashy, not trying. He is simply there, and somehow the energy bends around him. You sit there watching, half impressed, half annoyed. How does he do that? How is he so smooth while you are rehearsing basic sentences in your head? How does he navigate female emotions like a surgeon while you are still trying to decode a single emoji? You tell yourself, he must have always been like this. Naturally confident, naturally charismatic, one of those guys who understood women straight out of the box. You are wrong. What you are looking at is not natural charm. It is damage that learned to fight back. It is what happens when a man is hurt so deeply by women that he refuses to ever play the same game again. This is what turns a man from a harmless romantic into a killer in the dating game. Not violent, not cruel, but ruthlessly effective, emotionally armored, strategically lethal. The part nobody sees is the prequel. Before that man knew how to hold eye contact without flinching, he was the guy who looked away first. Before he knew exactly when to pull back, he was the one who clung on too long. Before he understood the difference between genuine interest and boredom dressed as politeness, he was the one being bled dry by mixed signals. He started where most men start. Believing. Believing in honest love. Believing that effort is rewarded. Believing that if you show a woman how much you care, she will feel safe and stay. He was the man who would walk across the city in the rain just to see her for 20 minutes. The man who stayed up all night to make sure she was okay after an argument with her parents. The man who listened to her talk about her toxic ex while silently promising he would never hurt her like that. He thought that was the test. Be different from the guys who hurt her. Show her you are safe, stable, real. And for a while, he believed it was working. Until one day, it wasn't. Every killer in the dating game has that moment. The moment the story snaps in half. Sometimes it is a phone left face down one too many times. Sometimes it is a friend who didn't mean to tell you but thought you should know. Sometimes it is a sudden change in tone, the warmth going cold overnight for no obvious reason. For him, it was simple and brutal. She went distant. The replies slowed down, the calls stopped, the excuses multiplied. Then came the line every good guy hears at least once in his life. You're amazing. You deserve better. I'm just not ready. But she was ready 2 weeks later, with someone else. Maybe it was a coworker who had never done half as much for her. Maybe it was a guy from the gym who barely remembered her birthday. Maybe it was a man who treated her softly in person and carelessly over text. It does not really matter who it was. What matters is what it did. It broke something, not just his heart, his worldview. All those stories he grew up on, be attentive, be honest, be loyal, be gentle, cracked under the pressure of reality. He did everything right. He passed every moral test, and he still lost to someone who barely seemed to care. That's not just heartbreak. That's psychological whiplash. The brain can't hold two opposite truths forever. The shift doesn't start on a date. It starts alone, late at night, when a man finally admits to himself that the version of him who believed in love the way movies taught him to is dead. He doesn't say it out loud, but he feels it. There is a moment where something inside quietly decides, enough. Enough begging for clarity, enough trying to prove his worth, enough bleeding for people who never even tried to understand the damage they caused. From that moment on, every interaction stops being innocent. It becomes information. He starts noticing things he used to ignore. The way some women need attention more than connection. The way they talk about their exes with contempt and nostalgia at the same time. The way their standards magically rise when they meet a man who would actually treat them well, and magically disappear when they meet someone who excites them but clearly doesn't care. He used to take people at face value. Now he watches behavior like a scientist. She says she wants a nice guy. He remembers all the times nice got him blocked while arrogance got promoted. She says she hates games. He remembers how fast she replied to the guy who never answered her for 2 days. She says she wants something serious. He watches how quickly she posts a new single and happy story after a fight. He doesn't argue with it anymore. He just studies it. This is where the killer is born. He stops using his heart as his main tool and starts using his pattern recognition. He notices the micro changes other men miss. Her energy shifts after one compliment too many. Her texts get colder when he reveals too much too fast. Her interest spikes when he suddenly becomes busy and unavailable. He realizes something brutal. Women respond more strongly to how they feel around him than to what they say they want from him. The man he used to be tried to win women logically. Show I am caring. Show I am different. Show I would never hurt you. The man he is becoming understands that logic doesn't move attraction. Tension does, mystery does, scarcity does. So he adjusts. He starts answering a little slower, not to play childish games, but to protect his mind from attaching too quickly. He stops oversharing his trauma, not because he has nothing to say, but because most people don't handle that kind of honesty with care. He lets her wonder slightly more about what he's doing instead of reporting his every move like a loyal intern. It looks like confidence. In reality, it is self-defense finally getting organized. This is where the dating game tilts. Women are used to men bending to their emotions, apologizing for things they never did, explaining themselves 3 times, typing novels just to keep a dying conversation alive. This man does not do that. When she pulls back, he doesn't chase. He lets her float away into whatever drama she finds more entertaining that week. When she tries to test his jealousy with stories about some guy who texted me, he doesn't bite. He nods, smiles, changes the subject, and mentally files her under recreational, not serious. When she threatens to leave, he doesn't beg her to stay. He opens the door in his mind and sees if she walks through it. Most men are terrified of losing a woman they're attracted to. He is terrified of losing himself again. That fear makes him dangerous. Not dangerous to her safety, dangerous to her ego. Because he does something very few men do. He is willing to walk away. Not as a tactic, not as a fake move to increase her attraction. For real. He has been broken once. He knows what it cost him to climb out. He would rather lose her than lose the rebuilt version of himself. Women are not used to that. They're used to men who circle back after every fight. Men who will tolerate disrespect if the make-up sex is good enough. Men who will let their boundaries slide one by one as long as she stays. This man has no interest in that life. He has studied what happens when a man gives everything and ignores the red flags. He has lived through the version of himself that begged for loyalty from someone who treated it like an inconvenience. He has seen how quickly "I'd never do that to you" can turn into "I didn't mean for it to happen." So now, when he sees a red flag, he doesn't argue with it. He mentally cuts the rope. The more he does this, the more something strange happens. His emotional temperature cools down. Not completely. The capacity to love is still there, buried deep, heavily guarded. But on the surface, he becomes calm. He no longer shakes on first dates. He no longer obsessively checks if she viewed his story. He no longer stays up till 3 a.m. replaying everything he said. Because he knows something most men don't. If she truly wants to be there, nothing subtle you do will push her away. If she doesn't, nothing you do will hold her. This detachment has power. Around women, it feels like gravity. They sense that he is present, but not dependent. Interested, but not trapped. Attentive, but not desperate. He asks questions not to impress her, but to evaluate her. He listens not to automatically agree, but to understand what kind of mind he is dealing with. He flirts, not to seek validation, but to see how she handles tension. He starts seeing categories. There are women who love attention and have no idea how to handle actual commitment. There are women who claim to want a stable man, but are chemically addicted to chaos. There are women who say they want honesty, but only when it flatters them. He has met them all. He doesn't hate them. He just stops confusing them with women who are capable of real loyalty. With time, his emotional radar becomes so sharp it feels unfair. He can tell in the first 15 minutes if she is seeing someone else. He can feel when she is trying to use him to make another man jealous. He can sense when her interest is real, not because of what she says, but because of how attentive she is when he speaks. The boy he used to be wanted every woman to like him. The man he is now only cares if a very small percentage qualify to keep his attention. That selectiveness is what turns him into a problem in the dating world. Women who meet him feel something different. They start caring about his opinion. They start checking their phones more often when he goes quiet. They start asking themselves questions they never asked about other men. Am I his favorite or just one of many? Is he busy or losing interest? Did I push too far? Did I say too much? He used to be the one overthinking. Now they are. Not because he is playing cheesy textbook games, but because he is no longer available as emotional furniture. And under all of this, there is still the origin story. A man who once loved with no armor at all. That version of him still exists, but he is locked behind multiple psychological doors that very few people ever get access to. On dates, the mask is confidence. Underneath, it is a fortress. He has built routines that keep him stable, work that matters to him, a body he respects, a life that does not collapse just because someone stopped replying. His life no longer rotates around whether a woman chooses him. That is why so many women now choose him. There is a dark irony in all of this. The deeper the wound, the sharper the man becomes. The more pain he endured, the more skill he develops. The more disappointed he was by love, the more lethal he gets in the one arena where love used to destroy him. The dating game rewards this version of him. He gets more matches, more attention, more options. On the surface, it looks like victory. But under that victory, something else is forming. A quiet question he does not say out loud. If all of this came from pain, what will it cost me to keep playing this way? That question is the shadow following every killer in the dating game. He knows how to win now. What he does not know yet is how much of himself he is willing to spend in the process. And that is where the story starts to turn from power into something much darker. By the time he reaches this stage, the transformation is complete. Not because he changed who he is, but because the world forced him to build armor just to survive it. And now that armor doesn't just protect him, it weaponizes him. This is the part no one warned you about. When a man learns to shut off the part of himself that feels too deeply, he doesn't become cold, he becomes precise, ruthless in clarity, impossible to manipulate. The version of him who once fell in love after 2 good dates is gone. Now he watches women the way a hunter watches movement in the woods, not because he wants to strike, but because the cost of being blindsided again is too high to risk. He doesn't trust words anymore. He trusts patterns. He tracks inconsistencies like a detective. A delayed reply that doesn't match her enthusiasm yesterday. A sudden change in tone when he stops giving her compliments. The way she talks about just a friend with too much emphasis on just. Nothing escapes him now. Not because he's paranoid, because he's been educated by pain in a way no book, no podcast, no pickup coach could ever match. And this education turns him into something women don't encounter often enough to understand. A man who cannot be controlled by desire. He still feels attraction, but it no longer blinds him. He can want a woman fiercely and still walk away mid-conversation if she disrespects him. He can crave her touch and still block her number if he senses she's playing both sides. He can fall for her softness and still rip himself away the moment he sees she values attention more than loyalty. This is what scares women the most. Not his confidence, not his silence, not his detachment, but the fact that their beauty no longer gives them leverage over him. He has seen beautiful women cause chaos, use men, break men, drain men. He's seen how a pretty face can hide intentions darker than any man is prepared for. He survived that, and now he treats beauty like a pleasant detail, not a passport to his heart. That makes him unpredictable, and unpredictability makes him dangerous. Not in the sense that he harms women, but because he cannot be seduced by the tactics that work on weaker men. Women feel that instantly. They sense that he is evaluating them, not chasing them. They feel the weight of his standards. They feel the burn of his boundaries. And some of them panic because they realize something devastating. The tricks that always worked don't work on him. The flirty coldness, the mixed signals, the jealousy bait, the strategic silence. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't overreact. He doesn't crumble. He just observes, adjusts, withdraws. And once he withdraws, it's permanent. This is why they call him a killer in the dating game. Not because he hurts women, but because he kills illusions. He kills the illusion that she can treat him like an emotional backup plan. He kills the illusion that he will tolerate chaos for the reward of affection. He kills the illusion that he is desperate for validation. And once she realizes he is not like the others, something inside her flips. She starts investing. She starts putting in effort. She starts chasing. But here is the twist. By the time she starts trying, he has already seen enough. He knows exactly who she is, how she operates, what she fears, what she values, and what she pretends to value. And he knows whether she is wife material, girlfriend material, or a lesson. Most women expect men to learn slowly. This man learns instantly, because he learned it the hard way. And here is the darkest reality he never says out loud. The more skilled he becomes, the harder it becomes for him to actually fall in love. His instincts protect him from the very thing he once craved. Every time a woman gets close, his mind starts scanning for patterns of betrayal. Every time he feels warmth, his heart remembers the burn. Every time someone shows interest, he subconsciously waits for the shift. The moment she pulls back, the moment she tests him, the moment she reveals she wasn't who she pretended to be. He's not broken, he's cautious. But caution when overloaded feels like numbness. And numbness when prolonged begins to feel like power. He likes being in control now. He likes not needing anyone. He likes being the one who decides whether a story continues or ends. But late at night, when the world is quiet and there's no audience to impress, he feels something he never admits. He wonders if he will ever trust enough to love again. Not blindly, not foolishly, but fully. Because despite everything he learned, despite everything he became, despite the armor, the confidence, the precision, part of him still remembers the boy who loved completely. The boy who believed a woman's softness could heal him, not wound him. The boy who thought loyalty was natural, not rare. That boy is gone, but he's not dead. He's locked away behind every lesson, every scar, every boundary. And every once in a while, when he meets a woman who is gentle in a world that rewards cruelty, consistent in a world that encourages games, loyal in a world that celebrates options, he feels the old version of himself stir, slowly, cautiously, fearfully. Because love is no longer something he falls into. It's something he must choose. And choosing requires risk. Here's the true final twist. The man who became a killer in the dating game didn't do it to hurt women. He did it so women could never hurt him like that again. But every killer eventually faces the same crossroads. Stay invincible, or give one woman the power to make him human again. And that decision, that tiny moment where he considers dropping his armor, is the only time he is truly vulnerable. Not because he fears heartbreak, but because he finally found someone who might be worth breaking the walls for. Whether he lets her in or walks away will define the rest of his life. And that choice, after everything he's lived through, is the scariest battlefield he's ever stepped onto.